Hello, my name is Kirk, and as I said in my last video about mania, I was going to follow up that video with one about depression and some of the different stages. When I finished talking about mania, I was talking about the very peak of the mania, so kind of the third stage of mania, when things are really out of control. That's typically a good sign to prepare yourself for a downfall and a pretty hard crash. Now, granted, it doesn't always happen like that. So I'm going to talk about a different thing first, which would be kind of the different stages that I noticed in myself as I got better and was able to actually self-analyze a little bit more. The different stages that I noticed with depression, and I've noticed the same things in other people that I've helped and worked with and seen also recover using the same treatment method, which I talked about in a different video. So what I'd like to talk about is depression. It's hard for people to really understand if you haven't been depressed. It's very hard for people to picture the idea of suicide and why someone would want to take their own life. That's because people value life, and life is very important, and living it to the fullest and making sure that you do kind things and good things is important. So a lot of times family members don't always understand, friends don't understand depression. Unless you've had it yourself, it's very difficult to grasp how hard it is. So I'm going to start kind of with what I would first start feeling. I would typically get a little more lethargic. The easiest way to tell if I was starting a depressive phase and I was starting on that particular swing down was I stopped taking care of myself. So I wouldn't shave. I would not shower as often. I wouldn't get to the rec center quite as often. So everything kind of slowed down a little bit. And things that used to make me bubble up and laugh didn't have the same effect. I might smile a little bit, but board games, watching a great show on TV, video games, none of those things had the same desired effect. It's very considerable to people that are taking, say, a drug and they're addicted to that particular high. When you no longer get it, you need more of the medication or the drug. For someone hitting depression, it's like everything in life just lost something, and you don't really know how to explain it. Just nothing feels as good, food doesn't taste as good, you're not even interested in some of your favorite foods. That's kind of the first phase that I went through. It's just everything would kind of slow down. The second phase got more severe. So that typically was the more dangerous phase for me, because, and also for some of the other people that I've worked with, the reason that the second stage of the depressive swing is so dangerous is because it's where you still have enough energy to act out some really negative thoughts. So this is where people really need to seek help from their family, a trained psychiatrist and psychologist, a doctor. Go seek professional help. It's very, very important. Anytime you feel like life doesn't matter or you're feeling even the slightest bit suicidal, is something that you need to talk about and talk with somebody that you trust. But my advice would be talk to a psychiatrist or psychologist or doctor that has stayed up on the research. So during the second phase of the depression, really, I would actually even notice that colors weren't as vibrant. So my vision changed, which was really strange. And I've asked other people if they've ever noticed this. Not many people are, unless they're really well medicated and they're very stable, they couldn't really communicate that back and forth. But it happens to be pretty common, actually. So colors would be less vibrant. Again, no desire at all to move, do things, get up. And for me, the hardest part about having depression and that second phase was I didn't want to be depressed. I knew something was wrong, but it felt like just there was a heavy blanket sitting on top of me, and it wouldn't let me out. So I would try watching something maybe entertaining that used to make me laugh. Nothing would happen. That's when, you know, some of the suicidal thoughts would start, and I would get very, you know, down on myself, thinking I'm a failure, those kind of things. And that would kind of lead to the third stage. Now, for me, the second stage and the third stage are closely related in some respects. You're just not going to be able to function that well. I've read some books where, you know, one person was claiming to be depressed, and they said, well, you know, no matter how much they wrote, or, you know, they'd spend time in a cemetery, and no matter how much they wrote, they couldn't shake off their depression, or how much they worked out. I'll be very frank. To me, when I read that, it kind of made me a little bit angry, because when I had that second stage of depression, I couldn't move. I was really having a hard time. I couldn't go to the gym. I didn't even want to go to the gym. Writing something, writing poetry, not a chance. Then it kind of went further. So that third stage, I actually became catatonic. I was unable to move. I was unable to take care of myself, eat. Sleeping was pretty much 18 hours a day. I got up just long enough to go to the bathroom. Unable to go to work. I would cancel all plans with everyone. And I was literally so depressed and catatonic that I was unable to act out suicidal thoughts. So although that's the only thing that was running through my head the entire time, I could not function. So I could not get up to do something tragic. That is where things kind of went for me. So like I said, there's 3 stages to, you know, both of these that I've found, at least from my own personal experience with depression. It's kind of the first phase where just everything kind of lacks a certain luster. If you start noticing this and you're bipolar, one thing that you can do is recognize that that's happening. Be patient with yourself. Remember, no one wants to be depressed, and no one's really going to understand what depression is unless they've suffered from it. So when you're going through that, sometimes you feel so alone. That's a very important time for your family to know that you need people around you, whether you say you do or not. I would always say I didn't want anybody around me. I didn't want anybody to come talk to me or give me a hug or anything, so I would always reject any kind of personal care. Now, granted, the thing is that as I started getting better, I realized, looking backwards, I always wanted somebody there. So just their mere presence was enough to kind of help things a little bit. It wasn't enough to pull me, yank me out of the depression, but it did help. So make sure, count on your family to help you through some of these times, and be patient with them. They're not going to understand what you're going through. You can always reach out to me if anybody needs help or anything like that, but if you're really suffering and you have any thoughts of suicide, you need to contact either 911 immediately or your current psychiatrist or psychologist. And a lot of times, most of them will have on their answering machine, if this is an emergency, please hang up the phone and dial 911. So take this very seriously, and feel free to subscribe and share this with as many people as you think you'd like, or anybody who might need it. Any way that this might help other people understand depression a little bit better. And certainly feel free to send me any messages or requests for other videos. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. That just touches the base a little bit of depression, and in my last video, mania. I can get further in depth with some of these things if you would like. So thank you so much for your time. I wish you nothing but the best, and certainly happiness in the future. So thank you so much. Have a great day.